Hey, welcome. This is The Process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is week 5 SNAP report. Always a lot of data. The more weeks, the more data. Data keeps rolling in. Overall, we're looking for how teams use positions and players. We're looking for extremes and changes. We're looking for new faces popping up. We're trying to confirm the pecking order. In other words, what we believe, is that really reality? And it's not just whatever people are saying on TV or whatever. We're trying to see what the metrics are actually telling us. That's hardcore data. It is what it is. Opinions are like jello, it's easily moved around, but metrics or bricks, there it is. It's just how you interpret is the variation there. And having had years of work as PhD in microbiology, I've had years and years looking at data, trying to make decisions when I was uncertain. And that's the hardest thing, is it takes learning and thinking about decisions under uncertainty. That's what fantasy football is. There's no risk. As we understand risk is a contained probabilities that we know everything. We do not know everything in fantasy football. It is chaotic. Suggest you check out the chaos theory and consider really what goes on is much harder to model and predict than people may want to tell you. And the ones that are doing it, my opinion, they may be out there, but they're probably using it to make money, and so they're not going to sell it for cheap, right? You don't give away the keys to the kingdom, and I suspect there's a lot of interesting research that we just don't know. We don't know, so just be aware of that, especially in daily fantasy sports with the kind of money that's available. It would pay for groups of people to get together and go for money and try to harvest the low hanging fruits here and make some money. So I suspect there are syndicates and gambling groups that are doing that, and they probably got data scientists, mathematicians. At least everything that I've seen historically, that's been the case. So if you step into that arena, and I really don't, because I don't have so much time to really get the depth I think I need. I hang with the league, week long, or actually season long fantasy. There's not enough on the table to attract the super players like that. So let's talk about snaps and talk about the rate of snaps. And I show you the first metric is teams, average of team snaps over the last 5 weeks. I'm showing you average of player snaps on that team per second. And so I get the time of possession, offensive possession, and use the time of possession as kind of is it denominator or numerator? I used to know. Anyway, it is involved in the ratio here, so we can see what teams are dealing out more snaps per second. You would think that would be good to know versus teams that don't do that. You would think they would be less efficient, being slow on snaps versus faster on snaps. And so I have average of player snaps per second. Then in order for us to see the landscape, I do a scaling procedure where I subtract the league average in each column here, and I get scaled team snap and scaled snap rate. And that tells us the plus means above league average and minus is below. So, and you also get a scale to see how much a team is above or below the average. So it's important to see how far teams are in extremes. Okay, to me, the extremes are certainly giving us a lot more information than the average, right? So the extremes, positives and negatives, I think have to be dealt with and understood, and at least uncovered, so that we can, add that information to other data streams to make our lineup and trades and whatnot decisions. Okay, let's continue on here. So what I did is I like the visual. To me, visual is better than numbers, because people get a little wonky on the numbers. So I think this is, to me, looking at the visual side, this tells me a very interesting story. And so the bars represent team snap rates, player rates, and we go from high, above average, to low, and I did colorization, so the green are the high extremes above league average, and the red are below league average. And then I also plotted the scaled team snaps, and you see in the yellow circles, so you can follow if a team has a lot of snaps and fast rate. That's got to be good news. It's got to be good news. And I also wanted to establish some boundaries on the scaled snaps, team snaps. And so the pink lines here represent 66% of the data here. And I used a box and whisker to establish the parameters. So these are the extremes above, these are extremes below the average here. So these teams here are very low, and extremes in team snaps, these teams above the pink line are the extremes above. So I like to kind of be able to judge two variables at one time and take a look at that. And something I've been following and been seeing is Kansas City. They were, kind of expected to be the Super Bowl champs, right? Preseason. And a lot of metrics are showing me they're just not producing, as far as, in this case, snaps per snap rate is a little high, but it's not as high as you would think. Now, with that said, they are producing the highest team snaps. So I think they're trying, but the rate at which they're getting all those snaps out is not as high as we would have predicted. Take a look at the Chargers. Look at that snap rate just towers. In fact, it's probably too good to be true, folks. Anything that's what I call giraffes, that just stand above everybody else, is probably not going to be there by the end of the season. But I would suspect they will be in the top group, and they are in the top scaled team snaps as well. So that looks good to me. Dallas is looking good here. Believe it or not, Atlanta, as far as the team snaps and the rate, is looking good. I think Atlanta has been moving up here. They've had a sluggish start, but they've really been improving. And on the other side are the teams that are worrisome to me. The Raiders, Chicago, Green Bay, Pittsburgh. These are all below league average in snap rate, and their team snaps are kind of bleh in the average. Tampa Bay is the only example of that. Tampa Bay is what, fourth or fifth in the league in team snaps, but they're slow in the rate. So if they can get ahead, they're just probably, I'm taking that they're doing a lot of rushing and slowing the game down. So instead of having Brady in a firefight, just passing and passing, they would like to get out some targets, but they're not in any hurry to really speed that up, which is an interesting strategy as compared to the Chargers here. So consider that. The Jets, New Orleans continues to worry me. Miami, they're below rate and below team snaps here. Cincinnati, Baltimore, Cleveland is of interest. Baltimore, I guess, but maybe Cleveland's average, but they're above snaps. So this is kind of where a lot of change can happen before the end, kind of in the averages. Teams will tend to be moving one direction. It's kind of hard to stay average with all sorts of variation week to week here. So, but right now, those are some of the concerns I have and some of the surprises that I have right now. So I think the biggest surprise to me would be Atlanta here. I think Dallas isn't surprised. Chargers were thought to be competitive. The Chiefs are a concern, as well as some of these teams down in here are, more bigger concerns, except for Tampa Bay, which is interesting. I need to look at this over the last years just to see, is this kind of almost an alternative strategy here? How is that going to work for them? Okay, because in these extreme slower rate teams, nobody but Tampa Bay is showing really above it. Carolina's, they're tending to be that way, so they're a little bit like Tampa Bay, and they could surprise. Cleveland, Baltimore are kind of like that as well. So these guys may be competitive as well. I think if I was, a betting person, I would certainly, it may not, I don't know how much money, but I think, does Atlanta make the playoffs? I mean, I think I would take a small amount of money and see, that's the idea. You bet a little to get a lot. So I would want to see that kind of metric there. I bet Atlanta would be probably, maybe a bargain relative to this data anyway. So here is the weekly numbers, and most of the rest of the data is going to be snap rate or player snaps per second. And so the numbers get down to the 4 significant decimals, and I do realize that. But I use colorization. The purple is the high, the yellow is the low. So I think you can, instead of focusing so much on the actual numbers, you can focus on the colors and the intensity showing the extremes. So deep purple, like the Rams week 4 was an extreme, whereas Cleveland week 2 and 3 were kind of extremes on the bottom side of things here. I looked at average snap rate here and colorized. You can see some of the top teams. Okay, average. And then I figured out the differences in snap rate between the last 2 weeks, weeks 4 and 5, compared to 1, 2, 3. So what teams have been coming up and speeding up? What teams have been declining, slowing down? And you need to know this. It's the Rams, the Chargers, Philly, Cleveland, and Green Bay have all sped up. So they kind of got their traction going here. And, you want to think that they're going to continue. The lighter green is still above average, and they're moving up. Notice Atlanta's right there. And then below average is light red, and deep red is, those to me are the deeper concerns I have, the extremes. They have really slowed down in their production, so be aware of that as well. So I think the metrics are telling us a lot, and I like the differences, the aspects of change over time is a good thing, and it's good to see that, and we can kind of monitor. So, on average, if I have a decision from these teams compared to a player from these teams, if they're the same, I rate them the same with rankings, then I would tend to move up here and away from here, just kind of on average. And this is not the only variable. It's just one variable in a bunch of data streams that I feel I have to use to help me be successful. And I did a visual plot, kind of like I did with the same way I did previously. The bars are the differences, what teams have been speeding up, what teams have been slowing down, and look at the scale. These teams, scale-wise, are almost double these teams that are speeding up. These teams have slowed down by double that. So there's some extreme things happening here. And at the same time, the average snap rate, I target, again, the average range is in between the pinks, so above or below or the extremes here. Just taking a look at that and just kind of seeing here. So Jacksonville has really slowed down recently, but and again, that average rate is not over 2 weeks, it's over 5 weeks. So that, just be aware of what this is telling you or what it's not telling you, right? Probably should have done the last 2 week snap average now if I was redoing it, but I don't have time. I got so much other stuff to do. But just be aware there is a little bit of wonkiness to that metric. So again, and you're saying, well, what do you do with this? Well, I ask the question why. If you put whatever you see why, that invites investigation if you have the time to do that. And you're saying, well, I don't have time, I'll just take the fire. And I think we've had this discussion before. I continue to have it because being a professor and teaching for over near 25 years now, students love to be given everything, and they don't like to think. I would love for you to learn how to chop the wood as well. And what I'm doing has taken, remember, I've been doing data manipulation almost all my life since being a teenager. I started in biology in 1977. So I have been doing stats, metrics, making decisions under uncertainty, being trained to deal with things that are uncertain, and trying to interpret what data I have. And I publish a nice a bunch of papers, 30 or 40, I forget now. I've written grants. I've brought in nearly $1 million in grant money over my time, graduated a lot of PhD students. So I've had to look at their data as well. So not only do I look at my data, but I have to monitor people who are learning this. So I have to do a lot more work than it might be apparent that college, especially scientists and people dealing with metrics. So I ask the why. And I invite you to as well. So we now move to the positional side of the investigation. So I like to start off with teams. And then I get a little deeper. So I'm going top down, uh, and then go into the positions here. And again, we have up to 5 significant digits here, 4 to 5. So I understand that's a lot of numbers and decimals. That's why I colorize, so that you can see the extremes and the highs, in this case green, and the low red. And I have a 5-week average. And I did blue is high and red is low. And I looked at weeks 4 and 5 for snaps per second, SPS. There it is. And then I use that information to envision a usage. So now Arizona looks like this usage, that they're all in on their wide receivers and kind of weak on tight ends, 24%. So now you probably, and with Max Williams hurt, he was trying to break out of that. I would be cautious. I would not be wanting to rush back in and grab another tight end. Running back's nice. Atlanta has not been using the so-called running back, but they've been using their tight end a lot, 37. Underutilizing their wide receivers, folks. I really wish that they would figure out a way to get more wide receivers involved. That, in a passing game, you've got to have both. I understand it's nice to have a good tight end in Pitts, but you need the wide receivers. Baltimore, near balance. 40% is kind of the number I like to see for usage for wide receivers. Running backs, at least 30 is nice. Tight ends, 30 is so it's okay, and okay. So Baltimore is kind of doing they seem to be kind of steady there. The Bills, surprisingly, look at the snaps. They're using their running backs a lot, and their tight end. And if I told you a player snap-wise, the wide receivers are the lowest, what would you say about that? I think Buffalo, for them to move forward, is going to have to change and flip the script a little bit. So I don't know what it takes. But look at last week. Look at week 1. And it's almost been declining each week. What is that? So Knox is taking over. Okay. And everybody's jumping on him. And I understand from first 3 weeks now. Just be aware there were the first 3 weeks. So something was going on there that changed. So just be aware of that. Carolina, a lot of red here. So they're all about their wide receivers. That's how I would say it. But Christian McCaffrey's been out, and Chuba Hubbard has not fit the mold there. Chicago, with Montgomery gone, look at that. Kind of, nothing really. I mean, 40%'s nice. But take a look last week under Fields. Not good, folks. I don't know what people are claiming, but you wonder why Allen Robinson is in trouble. This just says the whole show is in trouble, not just him. Cincinnati, Michigan's been hurt. You can tell. Look at this. They love their tight ends, Njoku and Hooper. It's just pick the week, folks. But look at that. They've only had one down week. Again, there's too many of them, right? Wish we had a dominant one. But the thing is, if you can pick the dominant one of the week, then I think you have an opportunity to win. Their wide receivers, with all the holes they've had. Look at that. I mean, you can read the tea leaves and see 33% is sad. So they've been using their tight ends because they've been sad here. So we'll see if Landry gets back and see if he can, compete the circuit there. I don't know at this point. Cleveland, you would think that they would be using their running backs more than 20% by snaps. What the hell? Tight ends are being used. Okay. Oh, Cincinnati is Azuma. I'm sorry. Cleveland has Njoku and Hooper. Bad me. But still, 42. So it looks like Cleveland and Cincinnati are doing the same thing here, except Cleveland's doing a little bit better here. But still, anytime I see below 40, I'm not pleased. Dallas not using their wide receivers enough, folks. Yes, last week they did. So what are they doing this week? You see the variation here. Look at Zeke was really used. So I'm not sure what Dallas team we're going to get. Denver, with Fant, you would give him 28. Oh, man, that's not good. Look at this. Week 4. What the hell? I think there's room for improvement, but Denver needs to solve the puzzle there and get their wide receivers and the tight end involved here. I think they're having to rely too much on the running game, which is probably because something is not copacetic here. Cleveland, really nice the last 2 weeks. People even recognize that. That is nice. But they're kind of balanced. Hawkinson, folks, he's getting play and snaps, so I can't fault him for that. It's not like they get this, right? Not like he's in Denver. I mean, I could understand Fant being underplayed, but man, come on. Hawkinson's doing well. It's just a matter of finding the game script where so he's going to have a blow-up week. It's just, when is it? I would have thought this would be his blow-up week or that, but that just hasn't come through. The wide receivers, they really need to pick this up. This is low. Green Bay, look at this. They were so sad last week. This is a sad number compared to the week before. It's kind of harking back to this week. Be aware, Green Bay looks very variable, very variable. And look at the balance here. So I think that's not good for anybody on the Green Bay other than maybe Aaron Jones or Adams are going to get theirs. But anybody else is going to have a hard, tough road to make any headway there. So that's sad. Green Bay is a two-trick pony, and they're an injury away from being down a trick on their ponies. Not good. Houston, let's not use our running backs. Let's not use our tight ends much. Let's throw it all on the wide receivers. So if I had Cooks, I'd be happy, and as well as some of the other ones that we're showing, it's just we don't know what we're going to get with those. So people are probably not picking, who's it, Moore and somebody else? I mean, I don't know. And if Tyrod comes back, we don't, the deck shuffles again. So that would be a very tricky, I'd have to have a super deep bench to invest deeper than Cooks here. But I could see that. If you're desperate, maybe there is something. You can gamble. Notice I didn't say sure. Gamble that one of those hits again. You would think they'd be giving more snaps to Taylor. Okay. And 40's okay. The tight end's okay. They really, week 3? I mean, I don't know. Not sure what they're doing. Jacksonville, has been biasing to the running back and the wide receivers. That seems logical since they don't, I know Arnold's coming back in there, but right now, these last 2 weeks, I'm not bullish on Arnold. Nice James Robinson usage, but look at that. That's still sad. Kansas City, they have not, I know people are rushing out. Just be aware, folks. They have not had a strong usage this whole season. It's not like a one or two. It's been 5 weeks of sadness. Be aware. Kelsey's 36, and the wide receivers, Tyreek, so it looks like they're a two-trick pony. I know they're trying to cover for CEH there, but not sure. Chargers, man, did they wake up last week? Look at this. Nice. A little bit low on the wide receivers. I know Mike Williams and Keenan Allen has been overshadowed by Williams, but they've been really, really pushing the wide receivers here. So that, I guess if you have Williams and Allen, maybe Williams will get the top shadow and Allen won't, or the zone or whatever the defense is. Jared Cook, I mean, that's fine. Had a couple good games, and I think the other tight end got involved. You would think they would be, and they woke up on Eckler. So finally, week 5, I think that is the formula. And hopefully we will not see, look at the first 4 weeks, sadness with not really doing anything with Eckler there. So I don't know what took them this long. The Rams had a sad rushing week. Tight ends are fine. Wide receivers, okay. A little bit low. Mediocre. Vegas is a train wreck and everything's going on. They're going to be just throwing it up and hoping the passing, because they're going to be down and out. And Jacobs is going to be used to open up the passing, and they're going to manage their strength and try to soar with their weakness, folks. Not good. Miami's been sad the last 2 weeks, so I suspect they're going to try to go and get rid of Brissett and move to Tua again, given what I'm seeing here. I'm not, 35%'s weak. Gesicki's been getting some activity 3 of the 5 weeks, which is not bad. I would like to see that more steady. So we'll see with Tua. I don't know. Gesicki, I don't know if Tua uses him as much as they are. Brissett does. Minnesota, Cooks is still not right, and the tight ends are sad. And it's all about the passing almost every week. So all their eggs are in the wide receiver basket. You would think they would try to be pushing more, but maybe Cooks is a little bit more damaged than we think. I don't know. I'm a little concerned about him long term. New England, not good on their running backs. Tight ends are fine. In fact, they're overshadowed the wide receivers here. So passing is going to continue, and just be aware if you pick up any of the the running backs at New England, there's some sadness there you're going to have to live with. 5 weeks of sadness. Saints, I'm shocked that they keep winning every week. This doesn't look good to me. Yes, Kamara's been doing good, and they woke up some of their wide receivers that have been inconsistent. I guess they're going to keep surprising me, but this pattern here is not of strength. The Giants, Barkley never really have put him forward. 26. Ingram, I'm hoping, is going to continue moving upward. There's a little bit towards the ceiling here, and he could improve even more this week. Just be aware. Wide receivers are been a train wreck. I guess Tony's going to be the new flavor. I went and tried to grab him myself, but 35%. Tony's not going to pay off as much as you think he will. Jets are a train wreck here as well. Lots of train wrecks by week 5, and this is all about the sadness here. I'm not seeing anything that's really intriguing me. Philadelphia is looking very good the last 2 weeks. Look at that. Nice. And they've been doing it by the running backs and balanced, giving it to the tight ends a little bit, the wide receivers. So they've been a little bit balanced and skewed to the running back a little bit. So that's kind of an interesting strategy. Pittsburgh is the train wreck, and it's all about the passing here. So that concerns me if you own Harris and whatnot. It's all about the passing. So losing Schuster, I think Washington is worth a pickup just because they're using him, would use the wide receivers, but he's definitely going to be third in the pecking order. Seattle really is using their tight ends snap-wise, but they may not be pass catchers as blocking for Wilson, who got hurt. So maybe this was a sign that things were really out of whack. And I do have concerns for Metcalf and Lockett now. And that's sad. I think it's going to cost you some points now. And Carson was gone, and it was not any better here. So they need Carson back, and if they're using these tight ends for blocking, then there's bigger problems in Seattle here. And Geno Smith, good luck. I'm sad with all the Metcalf and Lockett shares I had. I'm sad for them. San Francisco, it's kind of and kind of below. So, nothing's inspiring with this kind of pattern here. Tampa Bay loves its Gronk. Boy, they miss him. Look at that. The worst snap rate is when Gronk wasn't playing. So expect this same pattern here. They're going to try to use Fournette, but look at that drop down as well. Tampa Bay's doing this slow the game down, and I hope I can nail some of the wide receivers, be efficient. Brady is efficient, and this pattern here would give me concern, but and I showed you the team pattern, that they're doing something completely different than everybody else. So whatever it is that's working, I guess, this is where one type of metric confounds you because you see another stream and you're like, this doesn't seem strength here positionally, but they've been doing okay with that. So look at the week before, by the way. This looks strong to me with Gronk. Look at that. They need Gronk back. Look, folks. Okay. Tennessee is flip-flopping around. They are hitting that 40%, but average-wise, this is great and sad. Sad and great, sad and sad. So that's, we're kind of getting fits and starts here. I'm not bullish on Tennessee a lot. They'll win some, over weaker opponents. Washington, you would think they would be using their wide receivers more. They didn't. 35 looks like it's all about the tight end. So Ricky Seals-Jones, folks, I have been picking him up. He is worth a gamble play for a tight end 2 streamer type. Just because of 38% usage. That's nice. That's almost as strong as Gronk's usage at Tampa Bay, folks. 38 is strong. So just be aware. The metrics are saying go get him. So I did. And remember, Booker and Williams, look at the usage there on those teams. Okay, so just kind of harken back to that. So this is good fodder for your waiver wire. I'm just kind of looking at a visual on the usage. And so what I did to try to make it even more easier for us is I went through each position, sorted them, and gave the top usage 100 and the bottom usage 0 or 1. And then came back and added that and colorized it. And so now the 33% and 43% seem like, oh, that's pretty close. Well, it's really 85 out of 100, 74 out of 100, and for the tight end, it's 1 out of 100. So now you see the extremes, which I think are hidden by the usage data. And I think a lot of times they'll throw these numbers on some of these other sites, and this is how they should do it, and I'm probably going to do this. Because I did this, you know why? Because I already knew this. It's just I wasn't showing to you. Hey, you know, if I have time, I'll do extra stuff. But I don't show all my whole cards, right? Because I may want to get into daily fantasy one day, and I'm stockpiling secret stuff. Okay? Hey, the other places are not going to admit it, but they're doing secret stuff too. It's just, come on. Who they fooling? I'm just telling you, I'm stockpiling secret stuff for my use, So, hey, until people, pay me money to do what I'm doing for fun and doing for myself, then secret stuff will be done. And the kind of money I would need, people can't pay because I haven't tested enough to sure that it's worth looking at my secret stuff yet. So it's kind of a catch-22 here. Anyway, take a look at that. So all green is the running backs. So Buffalo's really been doing well. But boy, look at their wide receivers. Let's like suck up and not doing that. And again, this last couple weeks, so people, oh, Buffalo, well, I'd like to see more out of here. Baltimore, I mean, I know they did Andrews, but they could do better. Look at Atlanta. They love Pitts. So you can kind of see this kind of pattern. You can see kind of a V pattern. You can see diagonal patterns going this way or going that way. Bias to the running back in Buffalo. So if there's an injury in Buffalo or Arizona, that's going to go against their patterns. Okay, if Pitts got hurt, Atlanta's pattern would probably have to change. Okay, so you can make some predictions based on usage that the team does. Okay, so I'm not doing that, but I'm just telling you that's kind of behind the curtain that you're not really doing. But now that I said that, I'm doing. Look at 97 for Buffalo. That's sweet. Carolina, the V pattern is fine. Chicago needs to be, less tight end because that's not been working. Look at Cincinnati. That is a troublesome pattern, and I'm not sure what they're doing. Look at Cincinnati doing the same thing. I don't think you go and win the Super Bowl, get in the playoffs with this kind of pattern. We'll see. A diagonal down Dallas. Let's all do Zeke. What happens? Zeke gets hurt. What is Dallas's pattern? So you can see some of these teams are one injury away from really having some issues. Denver is kind of doing this, and they're not strengthening their tight end. That's sad with Fant there. So, and their wide receivers are sad. And here's a diagonal with Detroit here. Look at in Green Bay. So these four teams, it's all about the running back as far as usage. Houston, it's the opposite. It's the diagonal this way, all about the wide receivers. So if you could catch one of those hot wide receivers, they may have a streaky week this week. There could be some surprises. Indianapolis kind of not Jacksonville, that's probably about where they need to be right now. That is fitting who they are. Kansas City's these should be higher. Look at that, 34, 63, 62. Kansas City's got issues, folks. You can see it in the metrics. Chargers, even though they're strong, they're still, I would like to see this down and these going up more like this pattern for the Rams. Okay. Vegas is all about the wide receivers, and they're not using Waller like they should. Miami, they've been using Gesicki and Gaskins and whatnot, but week before was Brown. So notice the wide receivers. Fuller's an issue. I think Parker got injured. I don't know who the flavor of the week is down there, but it's sad. Wow, does Minnesota knock the chart here? This is actually a nice pattern. Probably even too much usage here. So, and then New England, they can't do much here or there, so they're wrapping it on their tight ends. That's not a winning pattern. New Orleans, I do not know how they're winning. It's Kamara show, and if he gets injured, I don't know how New Orleans is doing it. The Giants, I believe Ingram is fated to move up, and just be aware that Booker will have opportunity, but it's 50%. That's And the wide receivers, I know everybody's Tony, but it's been 31, folks. So just be aware that he's going to have to really carry it all on his back. The Jets is kind of ho-hum, but I would like to see with Davis and Crowder. I think they have an opportunity here, but the metric says they're not playing into that opportunity. Sad. It's probably quarterback driven. Pittsburgh, running backs and the quarterback, and they're underutilizing these guys. Not good. Pittsburgh, all about the passing here, and that's usually a negative sign. And Seattle, this is just wacky, not good. And with Geno Smith, I think Seattle explodes downward and blows up. And I think if I had Lockett, I'd be trying to move him ASAP, but I'm not. That train may have already left. You might still get somebody as a trade partner. I don't know. San Francisco, I would like to see this and this flipped, but they do lack their running game. Tampa Bay is not really using its wide receivers at all. Isn't that interesting? It's all been the Gronk show and the running back show. So Brady is that good to have a team just like this, having this pattern and still being really competitive. Tennessee, it's kind of low, low, low. It's kind of ho-hum. Washington, Ricky Seals-Jones, 74 out of 100, folks. Like I said, you better jump on him. People are under squawking about him. There it is. You heard it here first. And this is just looking at the positions going across here. Here are the top teams. Okay, here the bottom. So take a look at the tops and the bottoms and ask what's going on and is it going to get worse? Is it going to get better? And I would make my waivers using this information to move towards or away from some picks. And certainly the amount of fab budget, I wouldn't spend a lot of money on DJ Dallas, for instance, to handcuff to Carson. Okay. Houston is a train wreck. I wouldn't take any of those guys. I know people are getting the new hot flavor. I wouldn't invest a lot. KC, I wouldn't invest a lot, folks. Booker's better than KC for a lot of reasons. Here's the tight end. Look at the tops. Look at the bottoms. Who to avoid. Okay. Look at Washington right there, folks. They're they're the 6th most used tight end at 74. That is a buy. Ingram is a buy for me. Can't get Gronk, maybe get Brate, but I think Gronk's coming back. New England, I think Henry is the buy if he's still out there because of that. Cleveland, Uzuma, I still think is a deep buy. I would collect him for $1. I'd avoid Seattle until I figure out. I think, and again, Geno Smith may change it, so that could be something. Here's where, look at Houston, is 100. Like I said, last week's some of those new wide receiver names they could surprise below Cooks. Obviously Cooks, but below, that could be a gamble. You want a this week gamble, there's where I'm picking. I still got Osborne is the third dollar for you holler. Terrence Marshall is still worth a grab for a stash. Washington's worth a grab for a stash. Too many mouths in Arizona and Vegas is. If you could crack that code, there may be some play there. And Kansas City also, if Tyreek's injured, then there's some opportunities. Buffalo, it's hard to get too deep there. Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, Dallas. I know Cedric Wilson's. They're waiting for Gallup. Detroit could be better. I think they've got some talent, but Cephas is on IR, probably done. And so is that Raymond? Is that Amon Brown is coming on? So that may be worth a deep gamble. Cobb may be worth a deep gamble. But we're talking gambles down here versus more of a stash and a little bit stronger stash and hope versus a stash and pray kind of players here. Take a look at the landscape here. Really gives you thought about what you're getting. So player-wise, here is team by team. I think a lot of this can be boiled down to what's going on recently. What have you done for me recently? And whatnot. So you can see the pecking order and what's happening here at each point. This is Arizona. Edmonds. Williams is hurt, so I guess it's Harris coming on. Certainly improved. Hopkins and Green and Kurt, even though Rondale, he was still 4th on speed, but they all went up last week. So that could be tricking you a little bit on Rondale because he can disappear as well. Atlanta, Davis looks good. Patterson, of course. Of course, I got Patterson first 2 weeks as a wide receiver. My bad. Pitts really dominating all 5 weeks. Hurst gets his weeks. So be aware. If you want a deep streamer play, he still has some appeal. Zacharias, fine. Tanjay Sharp woke up. Gage should be back. Ridley should be back after the bye, so I'm not sure how real Sharp is. Murray continues to be Murray, but had his second best week out of 5. Certainly improved last 2 weeks, so I think the signs are pointing to yes. It's just the usage. It's not going to be Andrews. It's all about the Andrews, and that's a nice hit, folks. So that he's been used well, but now he's finally got the score with it. Marquise Brown really woke up. That's probably what you saw last week was too much. Duvernay, because Watkins, is he hurt? Look at that. He must be hurt. And so could be a good streamer this week. And this guy could be a deep streamer right there. Buffalo, looks like Moss is really putting the hurt to Singletary. Singletary's becoming a handcuff now. Knox, it's all about the Knox. Don't Knox. Sanders and Diggs. Sanders beat Diggs. Beasley's Beasley, but last 2 weeks have been sad. Hubbard did pretty good, but still sad. I was liking Rodney Smith, and they got rid of him, so looks like Freeman's handcuffed to the handcuff. Thomas, I guess, is the dog now, even though I think Trimble caught a touchdown last couple of weeks. Moore, Anderson, Marshall getting more play. All 3. That muddies the water here, but you should definitely look at Marshall. I'm just warning you now, he's a good stash and hope right here. Montgomery's gone, so Herbert was a surprise. Look at that, higher than Williams. Don't be surprised. It is a A and a B background here, committee. Herbert's cheap, not cheap this week. He was cheap last week. I got him in 33 of my 53 leagues. Boom. So I really put a lot of eggs in his basket there, but if I said I only did $1 or $2 or $3, yeah, because I play in deep benches, and unfortunately some of my leagues don't have. So about 10 of my leagues don't have a deep bench, so I couldn't even get him. So really about 40 of my other leagues, I got him in 33. So I was all in on him. You're saying, well, how did you use that? He was the handcuff to the handcuff. And you figured Williams was going to cost. So why not go here for $1? Maybe it worked out. Don't know. Maybe next week I'm lamenting it didn't work out. Kimmett's getting the touches. It's just not producing. Graham's right there. Allen was back over Mooney, but it's definitely 1-2. It's just they're being underutilized, folks. Mixon's not right. They're using Perrin, but he's not as dynamic, so this is all sad to me. Azuma's a deep streamer. Deep bench stashing. I have Chase, Boyd, Higgins. Higgins hasn't quite they're gonna play him into shape. He should top the whole chart this week, but we'll see. Or certainly be the number 2. Boyd may be moving downward here a little bit. Just be aware. Chubb and Hunt. They're Chubb and Hunt. The rest of these guys, I guess this or this, one of those is the handcuff to the handcuffs, so I don't know. Hooper and Njoku, really highly used, and it was Njoku's week. Beckham, Peoples-Jones, I took him just as, a streamer only. Hopefully when Landry comes back, he's 1 or 2. Landry, I don't know if you can figure out when he's coming back, maybe worth a step. Elliott and Pollard, who knows how they're doing Pollard here. They're underutilizing Pollard. Schultz, it's all about the Schultz. So if he's still out there, grab him, but I doubt it because I picked him up in a bunch of leagues myself. Lamb and Cooper and Wilson. I think Gallup is eventually coming back and he'll be the 3 over Wilson, but we'll see. Gordon highly used versus which. So I don't know what they're doing with this guy. Was supposedly going to take Gordon's job. I'm not seeing it in the metrics yet. Maybe we'll see the week where this turn. He's one of these people. It's like they can't get rid of him because of they feel sunk cost, and they're not going to get rid of him. So that sunk cost cognitive bias, you're going to stick and go down in flames with that pick if he doesn't ever get out of Gordon's shadow. So I don't expect if he does start moving up that he'll be available to even pick. Maybe a trade person if you think the trajectory, but right now, I'm not seeing it. Fant, come on, man. What are y'all doing? Y'all need to give that man the ball. Sutton and Patrick. And here's a new contender, but Judy should be coming back. It's Hinton. He's the number 3. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Williams. Let's just not use him, shall we? And Hawkinson, he's there, ready. He's ready for prime time. What's going on? Raymond and Ra, pretty good. Hodge came in 3rd. Cephas is gone. He really was on his way to sad. Green Bay, all about Jones. Everybody, oh, Dylan. Nope, I'm back to where I was. Obviously, the handcuff. Tanyan, they're just not using him. It's not working this year. Lazard, Cobbs is not moving upward. So that's sad. David Johnson is the guy over Ingram. I guess Pharaoh is back, but not really. Conley, Moore. So Conley, Cooks, Moore. Moore and Conley, given that it's all about the passing, they may be worthy. I don't know if Amendola's ever coming back. I don't know. Taylor, it's all about Taylor. Hines is just an afterthought. He's a handcuff. Mack, we don't know what they're doing with him. Doyle, Cox, Doyle. Favors Doyle over Cox, but Doyle may be involved in pass protection. If one were to be injured, the other probably has value. Pittman, Pascal, 1 and 2. Campbell is a 3. Nothing really happening there. Robinson, it's all about Robinson. I guess Hyde is the handcuff. Arnold's back. Nice play. Look at that. So that may be a surprise. But I think everybody saw that. So Jones, Chenault's getting sad. Agnew, never heard of this cat, but he's been playing every week. Not sure what that means. But anyway, I'm taking Jones. Maybe Chenault is the time to trade for if you're a believer. I don't know. Solaire's gone. Williams. McKinnon may be worth $1 for your holler. That'd be it. Kansas City doesn't use their guys like they should. Kelsey, yep. I guess Bell is Kelsey's number 2. If you have Kelsey in a deep bench, maybe you pick him up because he's going to cost you money if Kelsey goes down. So Hill, Demarcus Robinson, and Nicole Hardman. There's the 3. It's just Tyreek's the only one that's really doing a lot of scoring over the weeks. But these guys could be a flyer because they're almost neck and neck. So you pick them. Eckler and Kelly, I guess, because Roundtree and Jackson were out. Big Kelly is the 3rd handcuff. I think Roundtree's the handcuff, but if he's injured, then maybe Kelly's has value. Don't know. Just if I'm an Eckler owner, I'm not sure who to draft. Just be aware. Cook had to share the duties with Parham, so that just are we going to have a Sanu Henry situation now, which would be sad if you drafted Cook. Allen's still getting more than Williams, but Williams is just tearing it up. Guyton is still my deep stash and hold for injury handcuff only. You can get him for $1. Henderson, worst of the 4 weeks he's played. Michelle, it's not like Michelle went up. Higby's number 1 in the tight end. Last week was a disaster. Look at this. These are sad numbers. Everybody's talking about Jefferson. He's still 3rd. So, Cup, sad. That's the worst week he's had. Woods was the 2nd worst week. This is Van Jefferson's worst. It was a sad week. So let's turn the page on the Rams. But just be aware, this is not the pattern you want to see. Let's see who's next. Okay, let's turn to the Raiders. It's been a train wreck this week outside of football. Jacobs is clearly the number 1, and I have no clue what they're doing with Drake. I don't know if he's injured, but something is clearly amiss. He should be the handcuff. Is Peyton Barber coming back? I am dumbfounded by what's going on there behind Jacobs. Waller, worst week he's had in 5. So not so happy to see that. It's clearly, in this case, was Ruggs, Renfro, and Edwards kind of 1-2. So it's 3 wide receivers. So who's getting the show? Ruggs has been clearly 1 or the 2 each week. And I assume that Edwards is the other side of that, and Renfro is the 3rd choice. That's how the data looks to me. I have concerns about the team usage, etc. So not not sure how all this is going to play out, but it's not something that I want to invest heavily in the wide receivers. Miami, uh, have no clue what was going on week 4. It's very clear that Gaskins is back, at least for week 5. It is confusing to me. I'm assuming Brown is the handcuff. I don't know how to explain this. Gasecki had another strong week. I'm worried if Tua comes back, he gets a week 1 usage. I hope we never see that again. And Durham Smythe actually was in the mix as well, and he's the clear number 2. Not sure why they're having to bring him in the mix. Waddle got his shot from since Parker was out, and Preston Williams showed up as well. That's probably Parker, Waddle, and William 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure how deep to invest in any of those guys as well. Minnesota, Cook was held out. Madison, didn't do as good as week 3, but didn't do too bad. Did improve from week 4, but they need to get Cook right here. But Madison's going to have a role probably the whole time until Cook gets healthy. When we see a week 1 and 2 numbers later in the season, we know Cook is back. Conklin, his worst in 5 weeks. He should be used more than he is. Not sure what's going on or why Cousins won't get him the ball. Week 5 was terrible for Thielen, Jefferson, and Osborne. I don't know what's going on, but that was not a sign of strong confidence. We assumed that was just a funky defensive thing, and we're going to hope for better days, because that's about all you can do at this point. Certainly a week to forget if you're Minnesota. Harris apparently was injured, and Bolden stepped in, and Ramadi Stevenson. The problem is they're confusing on what exactly is going on there. I'm underwhelmed by any of them other than Harris. Bolden's PPR dice roll. Henry and Sanu got sad usage, but Henry, I think, did he score the touchdown? I think he did. So, so you pick them there. Myers is clearly the one. Aguilar, clearly the 2. Bourne was kind of moving back down, and Harry improved slightly. So I'm not sure what their big scheme is, but not overly amazed by week 5 at all if you look at the numbers. Kamara keeps rolling. He's the show. Troutman should be getting more scoring than he is. He's the number 1 tight end. Stills, waiting for Stills to show himself as he used to be. Callaway is obviously the one here. I think Harris may have scored, but not sure we can count on that. It is confusing what we're seeing out of New Orleans here. I guess if I had to gamble, and I was thinking Thomas wasn't coming back, and if I had $1, I might, in a deep bench, I might look at Kenny Stills, because that is a nice time situation there. Okay, let's see our discussion of the New York Giants. This is going to be all sorts of activity on the waiver wire with Devona Booker. Just be aware that the Giants may not have their quarterback, so that could be very tough to deal with. People are looking at Brightwell. I urge you to consider him and Penny as dollar for your holler. Penny may actually be a surprise use this week because Booker can't handle all of it. So I could see a combination of Brightwell and Penny. And so the handcuff to the handcuff, the data would say Penny, but the best was Brightwell week 1. So I'm not sure where to get. Ingram is improving. Here he is, difference week 4 and 5 really improved, and I think that could be the Glennon's friend if Jones is still out, the concussion. Galladay's hurt. Ross and Tony. Everybody's going to Tony. Don't forget about Ross as somebody. I know Shepard may come back, but Ross could be in there as well if Slayton doesn't come back. So Ross is about 4 deep there, and could be a surprise as well. The Jets, Ty Johnson and Carter. Carter looks like he's gaining dominance. Last couple games, he's overtaken Johnson the last 2. So in case he's out there, grab him. Ryan Griffin seems to be the tight end to have if you're investing. I'm just not investing a lot. Corey Davis is doing well and clear number 1. Crowder really hadn't improved much from week to week, and that's sad. I was hoping we would see something. And Cole was pretty good, but still, it looks like you're playing Davis, and maybe Moore comes back. But I was thinking Crowder, but it's confusing. I'm not sure. I wouldn't invest much in Crowder if he's on your waiver wire, just because of the confusion there. Sanders is the number 1. Gainwell, really, other than week 4, had really not been overutilized. So there's a lot of talk about him, but I hadn't seen a lot of action. Goddard's out, I think, with COVID, so it's Ertz. I know it hurts to get Ertz, but there you go. He would be your play, and there is some advantage in the matchup this week. So I would pick up Ertz as a streamer. Devonta Smith should be rocking and rolling. I guess this is the Thursday game. Notice Watkins, the slot guy, had a good week, and Rager actually had a down week for him. So I think for sure Smith, and I don't know which one of these two to play. Probably wouldn't play either one of them, but that's what you got. Pittsburgh, Harris, but they sure were using Watt. Kalen Ballage and Snell is picking up, so not what you want to see if you drafted Harris early. Okay. Tight ends, I think I'm going to, looks too hit or miss to me, but Fairmouth looks like the guy over Ebron. Dante Johnson is the clear 1, and it gets, I know Claypool did well, and maybe he's coming back. Schuster's out, so I'm guessing it's Claypool number 2. Washington may be a shot at number 3. If Ben were a little bit more not banged up, I think Washington would be a stronger play off the waiver wire than he is. You might still collect him as the handcuff to the handcuff kind of thing. Carson was hurt. Collins really stepped up. So Carson's out. Looks like Collins is free sailing. And DJ Dallas, they stepped him up. So I'm not sure Homer's the real handcuff. I think Dallas, at least that was the handcuff to the handcuff situation. Disley is the number one, but he hasn't really turned it in any points. Lockett, look at Metcalf's numbers. Look at Swain. They all fell down last week, so that's sad. That is a sad sight. And with Geno Smith, this could be really a horror show. Be cautious in your lineups this week. Mitchell, looks like he's back, but, that's not a great, strong number. They sure pulled the rug out of Sherman, so I guess I would hold him and pray. And Kittle was out, so Dwelly took over, and I think Frisco has a bye. So I guess Kittle's coming back, but be aware, if you're a Kittle owner in a deep bench, you may want to keep Dwelly. Samuel, Ayuk, and Sanu are the 1, 2, 3. But really, Samuel's been more steady for your play, and I think he's probably the only one I would play. I guess Sanu and Ayuk would be the handcuffs if San Francisco doesn't use their wide receivers a lot. Tampa Bay, Fournette's fine. Gronk's up, so you can't use any of them. I guess Howard, he's the number 2, really? I don't know. Evans, Godwin, and Brown, and Tyler, and Brady has a hurt thumb. So a down week 5, and have concerns about week 6 on a Thursday. Sad. Tennessee, King Henry, Swain, and Pruitt. Looks like Firster's getting aced out, so I don't know. Good luck trying to figure that out. Johnson, Brown, that's not a strong comeback. Brown, that concerns me. I'm looking at these kind of numbers, and we get somebody out pointing him, out snapping him. What? So is Marcus Johnson the surprise? Look on the waiver wire. That may be a dollar holler kind of. I don't know where Jones is at. Gibson of Washington had a week. Did well week 4, but kind of declined. Worst week they've had. McKissick had a sad week as well. You got to keep him, but I'm sad. Ricky Seals-Jones is the pickup. They use the tight end a lot. If you have Logan Thomas, deep bench, hold him, but grab Ricky Seals-Jones. McLaurin's good. Humphreys and DeAndre Carter, who stepped it up. So Humphreys has been involved. Looks like Carter's the 4th choice and taking over from Dynamic Brown. Samuel's hurt, so I guess Humphreys is the safe dollar play if you want to get somebody off the waivers. I just looked at the average snaps. These are more reference materials than anything. As I look through here, look at James Robinson, number 2, Harris number 1, Kamara, Eckler. I'm trying to say who's the surprise. Sanders is doing better than you probably think. Fournette's probably higher. Juszczyk. I'm just trying to find the extremes here. Looks like I did this twice. My bad. Here's Kittle, Waller, Kelsey, Hockenson. Can't explain why Hockenson is not. He's 4th in snaps per second. Sad that Detroit can't feed him more points. Higbee's okay. Thomas is out. There's Andrews. I think he's moving up. Schultz. Nothing really overly surprising. I would look at Ingram there because I do think uh, Giants are going to need a tight end. Wide receiver, Jones, #1 across the league. Wow. Who would have thought that? Devonta Smith, the rookie. Folks, he's the real deal. And I love to see that number. Look who he's above. Wow. Myers is probably a surprise here. Pascal, everybody up on the top, these should all be owned. So if they're not in your league, grab them. This is the next group. A little bit shakier here, but you can see where people are falling. And I went even further still, the third block. See where people are at. Just think about things. See what you think. So I sorted by differences, who's improved recently in running backs. Josh Jacobs, Collins. Some of these are due to injuries. Patterson's there. Booker, because of last week. Herbert, look at that. Was it the 7th best improving in the last 2 weeks? So he's worth a stab. I thought Rodney Smith was something, but they got rid of him. So I don't know why. There was, they worked him, but I guess they didn't like what they saw. Take a look at some of these. Probably most should be owned or considered or should be known about. Here's the bottom tiers. Some of this is injured, but Tyson Williams, Drake was fake, I guess. Not good. Barber's dropped. So a lot of these are injuries here. Just be aware of that. Probably too much use there. Here is the improvements. Seattle, Parkinson, Arnold for Jacksonville, Seals Jones, #1 in improved tight ends. He should be collected. Firstker's back, but he didn't do too well last week. Dwelly. So look at some of these, and you may have some deep plays and deep handcuffs here. Here are some of the ones that are sad and bad. Be concerned about some of these here. Henry dropped. So not everything is peaches and cream there. Here's the wide receivers. Beckham, Reynolds, Crowder, Tavon Austin, John Ross, Crowder. So some of these probably dollar for the holler kind of plays. So I would consider that big time. Here's some of your potentials right here. Some of your potentials. Here's some more, a little bit more riskier on some of these. And here are the droppers, the ones that are probably injured, but the ones that are not, something's an issue here or they wouldn't be here. Told you I was worried about Brown. That's not good. Just take a look. Everybody was talking about Mooney a couple weeks ago. Ruh-roh. So this is some more drops, things to worry about. Okay, that's my 10-cent tour, hour and 28 minutes. Goodness. But I covered everybody I could. This is Dr. Bush for The Process. Listen to the podcast with D. Mike, Science of Fantasy. You get to hear me talk some more. It's all good. We're going to crush this week. You can do this. Okay, you can do this. Dr. Bush for The Process and my Snaps reports. Signing out.